In the arena of power, where every man fights to be heard, the wisest man chooses to remain silent, not because he has nothing to say, but because he understands that speech is exposure. Every word is a window into your mind, your fears, your desires, your intentions. To speak freely is to hand your enemy the blueprint to your destruction. That is why silence, when mastered, becomes a blade sharper than any sword. It is not a sign of weakness. It is a calculated form of control. Most people mistake noise for strength. They fill rooms with their voices, seeking validation, grasping for dominance through conversation. But the one who sits in silence, eyes observing, face unreadable, is the one who terrifies them. Why? Because he is unpredictable, because no one knows what he is thinking or when he will act. In silence, he becomes a mirror forcing others to confront themselves, to reveal their own insecurities, their plans, their weaknesses. While they speak, he listens. While they reveal, he stores. While they play checkers, he plays chess, one move at a time in his mind in silence. The world teaches you to speak up, to share, to express yourself. But that is what the weak do. They crave connection, affirmation, applause. The powerful do not speak to be understood. They speak when they wish to direct, to manipulate, to dominate. And when they do not speak, they listen with precision, analyzing every syllable around them like a hunter studying the rustle of leaves. Silence is not passive. It is aggressive. It is pressure. It forces the other side to break first. In silence, you control time. The longer you wait to speak, the more anxious the other becomes. The more anxious they become, the more they reveal. People hate silence because it reveals who they truly are. They try to fill it with anything: words, laughter, lies. Let them. Every word they throw into the void only tightens the rope around their necks. You, the silent observer, hold the other end. You have the power to pull, to release, to cut it entirely. That is not weakness, that is dominance. That is the art of holding power without showing it. In the game of power, predictability is death. Once your enemy knows your next move, you are already halfway defeated. The talkative man, eager to be understood, desperate to be liked, becomes a map anyone can read. But the quiet one, the one who guards his thoughts like a vault, becomes a mystery, and mystery breeds power. Silence makes you unreadable, and the unreadable man cannot be controlled. He cannot be manipulated, anticipated, or easily defeated. In the uncertainty he creates, fear grows. And where there is fear, there is influence. The predictable man is a puppet. His emotions betray him. His words declare his loyalties. His reactions announce his intentions. He is a creature of pattern, a slave to routine. But the silent man walks in shadows. His presence is felt, but never fully understood. His silence keeps others guessing, and that guessing becomes a prison for those who seek to challenge him. In silence, you erase the trail behind you. No one knows what you'll do next, and that is what makes you dangerous. The world respects force, but it fears the unknown. A man who says nothing is far more terrifying than a man who shouts, because the quiet one could be planning anything: violence, betrayal, absolute indifference. His silence leaves all options on the table. That uncertainty becomes a weapon more effective than any declaration of intent. When others move in haste to protect themselves from imagined threats, they make mistakes. They strike preemptively out of fear, and in that fear they reveal their weaknesses. Unpredictability shifts the balance of power. It turns the battlefield into your terrain. When they can't predict your movements, they retreat into caution. And while they hesitate, you strike, or you don't. And even that is power, to have the ability to move and still choose stillness. Silence gives you that freedom. It creates space between action and reaction. allowing you to decide your strategy on your terms, not theirs. When you are silent, no one knows your capacity. They don't know how far you're willing to go. That doubt forces them to be careful with you. They tread lightly, speak carefully, make offers instead of demands. You haven't raised your voice, yet the room adjusts to your presence. This is how power shifts without a single word being spoken. This is how unpredictability, rooted in silence, reshapes the entire structure of influence and control. The one who speaks the most does not control the room. The one who listens does. Words are a currency, and the more freely you spend them, the more value you lose. But when you remain silent, measured, deliberate, you force others to do the talking. And in their talking, they reveal everything: their fears, their greed, their ambitions. The man who speaks too much exposes his soul. But the man who speaks little forces others to fill the silence, to rush to explain themselves, to overstep and uncover their true motives. Silence is a subtle command. When you withhold your thoughts, others lean in closer. They begin adjusting their tone, second, guessing their words, searching for cues in your expression. Your silence becomes a test they're desperate to pass. They speak to impress you, to gain your approval, to guess your position, yet you've given them nothing. This imbalance shifts the power dynamic. They're the ones performing. You're the one judging. You are not reacting. You are absorbing. And that puts you above the conversation. In any negotiation, in any confrontation, the one who can remain still, who does not jump to respond, who waits, gains an invisible advantage. People rush to fill silence because they fear discomfort, but that discomfort is a furnace. Let them sweat inside it. The longer you say nothing, the more they speak, and the more likely they are to make mistakes. You, by contrast, remain in control. You speak when it matters, and when you do, your words hit with force. Not because they are louder, but because they are rare, because they've been anticipated, because silence made them valuable. You don't have to dominate the room with noise. You dominate it by creating a vacuum others scramble to fill. That's how you control a conversation without saying a single word. Power lies not in being seen, but in choosing how much of yourself to reveal. Intent is the most dangerous thing a man can expose. It tells the world where to aim, how to trap you, how to stop you. That is why silence is more than restraint. It is a mask, a shield that conceals your direction, your allegiance, your ambition. The moment you speak, you give form to your desire. But when you remain silent, you become unreadable. No one can strike what they cannot define. People crave clarity. They want to know where you stand, what you believe, what your next move is. Not out of respect, but so they can calculate how to move against you. They want to categorize you, reduce you, label you. Silence denies them that power. It leaves you undefined, beyond reach. They will call you cold, arrogant, secretive. Let them. Their need to interpret your silence reveals their weakness, not yours. They need you to speak because their strategies depend on your exposure. And as long as you remain masked, they fight shadows. The silent man is feared because he could be anything. He could be an ally, he could be an enemy, he could be waiting, he could be planning. The mind of your opponent will do the work for you. It will construct possibilities, threats, scenarios, all based on nothing. And in that overthinking, they lose clarity. They prepare for battles that may never come. They hesitate, they doubt. That is the power of intent hidden behind silence. It multiplies itself in the mind of others. To speak is to commit. To remain silent is to remain flexible. Once a man declares himself, he becomes bound by that declaration. He must now defend it, explain it, justify it. But the one who says nothing is free, free to adapt, to shift, to strike at the right moment without warning. Silence protects you from the chains of consistency. It allows you to wear any face at any time because you never promised anyone anything. The mask of silence is not emptiness, it is control. It gives nothing, but it demands everything from others. It forces them to move first, to speak first, to risk first. You sit behind the veil, watching, adjusting, waiting. You move only when it serves you, not when they expect it, not when they beg for it. But when the moment arrives that your silence has perfectly prepared, there is a strange paradox in the psychology of power. Those who speak less are heard more. The man who is silent commands attention not because of volume, but because of absence. His presence is amplified by what he withholds. In every room, people speak to be noticed. They fight for space, raise their voices, flood the air with opinions and noise. But the one who holds his tongue, who does not scramble for attention, becomes the center without trying. His silence turns heads. His stillness demands analysis, and his restraint becomes mistaken for depth, wisdom, or danger. That illusion alone grants him power. The human mind is uncomfortable with blanks. When someone says nothing, people begin to fill in the gaps. They project onto the silent man whatever they fear, admire, or desire. Silence becomes a canvas, and others paint their own stories onto it. He becomes powerful not because of what he says, but because of what others imagine him to be. That imagined persona can be more commanding than any carefully crafted speech. He can walk into a room and say nothing, yet feel more dominant than the loudest voice there. That is the power of presence multiplied by silence. When you do not fight for attention, people give it to you freely. When you do not seek the spotlight, you appear above it. And when you remain quiet while others expose their weaknesses, you grow in stature. You become the one who doesn't need validation, the one who knows more than he says, the one who can't be provoked, baited, or read. That kind of presence unnerves the insecure and attracts the ambitious. Silence makes you untouchable, not because you are distant, but because you are disciplined. Every movement becomes amplified when it's rare. A single word from a silent man carries more weight than a speech from someone who talks endlessly. His silence builds pressure. It becomes a question everyone is trying to answer. Why isn't he speaking? What is he thinking? What does he know that we don't? This uncertainty shifts the power dynamic. The silent figure controls not just the moment, but the emotional rhythm of the room. People adjust themselves to his stillness. They lean in closer. They watch for every blink, every breath, trying to decode meaning where there is none offered. In this tension, in this unspoken gravity, silence transforms into presence. And presence, when intensified by mystery, becomes a form of dominance that cannot be challenged directly in a world intoxicated by noise. The one who remains silent becomes a force of nature, unreadable, untouchable, and unforgettable. Silence is not the absence of thought, but the sharpening of intent. It is not retreat, but strategy. It does not submit. It waits. In silence you draw others out, expose their weaknesses, and conceal your own. You distort their perception, making them react to shadows while you hold the substance. Power is not always declared. It is often implied, and the silent man understands this truth better than anyone. He does not waste his voice convincing others of his strength. He lets their fear do it for him.